Yeah, my name is Cathal O'Connell, Chief Executive of BMI Regional. Always had an interest in aviation, but I began working with Aer Lingus in 1980, back in as a computer programmer in Dublin, and spent over 20 years with Aer Lingus in various roles, moved from the IT function into marketing and then into strategy. In the latter part of the 1990s, I ran the project to bring Aer Lingus into the One World Alliance, and I left 2001, 2002, I left Aer Lingus, moved into Aer Arann, which is a regional Irish airline, flying ATR 42s, ATR 72s. Stayed there for 18 months and then moved to Eastern Airways in the UK as Director of Strategy. Eastern Airways are a regional airline flying within the UK primarily. I returned to Aer Arann in 2006 in a commercial planning role and stayed there until 2012 when I moved into BMI Regional. I had been involved with the guys who were leading the acquisition of BMI Regional. I've known them from previous activities, and they invited me to be part of the acquisition and part of the management team going forward. What's different about our business is that we fly 50-seat jets, which in 2013 there is a perception that a business operating or an airline operating with 50-seat jets is challenged. Our philosophy is to ensure that we use our aircraft in markets where they actually make sense and which are suited for that. Our product tends to be focused on business travel, so the majority of our routes we will fly on a twice daily basis, enabling people to travel out and back in the same day and conduct a day's business. Before we launch a route, we will actually look at the key businesses in that market and discuss the opportunities with those businesses to ensure that what we're doing is something that is actually required. Our philosophy is looking at value. We look at, in terms of it's not all about price with BMI Regional. We enable passengers to travel out and back in the same day. That's value. We don't charge for baggage. We don't charge for catering. All of that is fully included in the product. So our focus is very clearly on delivering a value proposition to customers which removes the hassle which exists with numerous other carriers. What we're focusing on is providing services in markets which have the type of demand that's necessary for our particular operation. As I said earlier, we communicate with key businesses in the markets. We have very good relationship with businesses. We have very good relationship with travel agencies. The majority of our sales right now come through travel agencies representing key corporates and travel management companies. What we do with our market is try and provide access from regional points to key hubs, bypassing the need for passengers to connect through another hubway. So if we take what we've done from Bristol, in this year we've launched Bristol to Hamburg, Bristol to Frankfurt, Bristol to Munich, Bristol to Milan, and these are all markets which traditionally passengers would have had to connect over a European hub to get to. We announced in the last few weeks, we announced the new operation in Norway, where we'll be flying from Stavanger in Norway to Evenes and Tromsø in the northwestern part of Norway. So there is a move from BMI Regional from just being a UK-centric airline into being an airline that has a presence within Norway. We also have services from France to Germany. So again, we're not constraining ourselves just to the UK market. So we see ourselves developing a broader network than we have today, but a network which is focused on what we can deliver, what we're strong at, and playing to our strengths. We also have a fairly significant non-scheduled operation where we operate a number of our aircraft on long-term contract with key companies. We also do a lot of ad hoc charters, and this year, for example, we've done tours with two major pop groups, which is dedicating an aircraft to them. For one was 12 weeks, one was 5 weeks. I think we've carried 16 of the 20 Premiership soccer teams. And it's a huge business. We've had flights from Norway to Slovakia. Because of the aircraft type we operate, it's a very popular type of aircraft, and it's a very major part of our business. Customers are looking for convenience, is what we're reading. What they want is they want service that it flies at the time they want to fly, and that gives them the value that they want to receive. We offer complimentary onboard service. We don't charge for baggage. Our feedback from customers, without exception, is they like that. That is a major consideration for customers when they're planning their trip. How many bags can I take? What weight can I take? Do I need to eat beforehand? Whatever. but it's primarily the baggage end of it, but we also look at the other features that we can deliver our customers. So fast track, lounge access, all of these product features are very, very popular with customers, and we regularly get feedback from customers saying absolutely fabulous experience, not like flying on a typical carrier these days, and that for us reinforces our belief that what we're doing for customers is right. Low-cost carriers are creating new markets. They're also changing existing markets. They're going into markets which traditionally may have been heavy, high business markets with airlines operating high frequencies, and impacting those markets to an extent that they may not be capable of sustaining a low-cost carrier and somebody who is providing services for the business carrier. So what we're seeing is the low-cost carriers coming in. We're also seeing more and more carriers developing niches. That airlines like ourselves would look at specific markets which may be too small for traditional carriers with 180-seat airplanes. So you're seeing airlines identifying niches, playing those niches, working them right. So all airlines have to adapt to the markets they're in. And we're seeing those changes in the UK. We're seeing changes being made by every carrier in the UK to make sure that what they're doing is right for their model and right for their customer base. The key issues that we see are really wrapped around how the overall economy, which drives the level of travel, but also we see taxation as being a major issue for the industry. As an airline with domestic UK services, we have air passenger duty on all of our passengers. For a round trip in the UK, that comes to £26. So it's not an insignificant amount for customers. So when we look at the example of what's happened in Ireland in the last number of weeks, where the Irish government have removed their travel tax, we see that the UK is now becoming one of the few countries in Europe which has a dedicated tax on travel. And that travel tax is doubled for passengers travelling domestically. So it's actually cheaper from the point of view of travel tax for a customer to do business in Europe than to do business on a domestic service within the UK. So areas of taxation which are impacting on customer decisions have to be addressed. The airline industry is one that from the outside looking in is very, very attractive. People look and they see aeroplanes, they see cabin crew, they see all this great glamour attached to it. The reality is it's a very, very challenging industry. It's an industry that is very competitive. It's an industry that puts great demands on the people who are in the market or in the different airline companies. And it's an industry which is changing significantly. Now technology is playing such a major, major role. Anybody going into an airline business without an understanding of the current technology in the business and the changes in that technology, they have to really inform themselves as to what is the technology. It's an industry which can bring great rewards. If you get into the right markets, it can be very rewarding, both in terms of from the company perspective and from the personal perspective as well. But it is definitely one that people need to think of long and hard before they would invest. In going into an airline, you need to make sure the business model you're going into is one that will be successful. Certainly the most significant achievement for us as BMI Regional over the last year was to transition ourselves away from being fully dependent on BMI. We managed within a 12-week period in 2012 to completely build the infrastructure upon which the airline was dependent. All of our IT systems, all of our financial systems, commercial roles, all of those were provided by BMI. We didn't have that because what we took over was an operating airline, but without all of the functions I've mentioned. So what we had to do within a 12-week period was create that infrastructure from scratch. That included changing reservation systems, setting up IT departments, setting up new people in finance roles, in commercial roles, and so on. So it was a very, very intense period. But we came out of that at the end of October 2012 with a fully functioning airline. Numerous people said to me it was impossible, and the team in BMI pulled together to make sure we delivered it. That was recognised earlier in this year. In October of this year, we won the ERA Airline of the Year award, and that was in recognition of the change that had gone through and how we had transitioned BMI Regional from being effectively a subsidiary, which was operating a franchise for BMI, into being a fully standalone independent airline with its own full infrastructure and one that is operating very, very well.